Hi, it's Mrs. Ferris, and are you ready for Storytime Online? Let's see what our theme is going to be today. Come on up. That's right. Our theme is going to be fish. So let's get our first book. This book is what I consider a classic. I first came across it when I was studying to be a librarian, so that was quite a few years ago. This is called Swimmy, and it's written and illustrated by Lionni. He uses a lot of collage in his artwork, so you may recognize some different shapes in there. And it's published by Pantheon books. A happy school of little fish lived in a corner of the sea somewhere. They were all red. Only one of them was as black as a mussel shell. He swam faster than his brothers and sisters. His name was Swimmy. But one day, one bad day, a tuna fish, swift, fierce, and very hungry, came darting through the waves, and in one gulp he swallowed all the little red fish. Only Swimmy escaped. He swam away in the deep, wet world. He was scared, lonely, and very sad. You see him there? But the sea was full of wonderful creatures, and as he swam from marvel to marvel, Swimmy was happy again. He saw a Medusa made of rainbow jelly. Do you know what that is? Can you guess? It's a jellyfish. A lobster who walked about like a water-moving machine. Strange fish pulled by an invisible thread. A forest of seaweed growing from sugar candy rocks. There he is. An eel whose tail was almost too far away to remember. Sea anemones who looked like pink palm trees swaying in the wind. And then, hidden in the dark shade of rocks and weeds, he saw a school of little fish just like his own. "Oh, let's go and swim and play and see things," he said happily. "Oh, we can't," said the little red fish. "The big fish will eat us all." "But you can't just lie there," said Swimmy. "We must think of something." So Swimmy thought and thought and thought. And then suddenly he said, "I have it. We are going to swim all together like the biggest fish in the sea." So he taught them to swim close together, each in his own place. And when they had learned to swim like one giant fish, he said, "I'll be the eye." Doesn't that look like a red fish with a black eye? Pretty smart, Swimmy. And so they swam in the cool morning water and the midday sun, and they chased the big fish away. Guess you can see why I like that. The little guy wins in the end. Let's try a new finger play. This is one we often have danced to at our Bibliobop program, but can you make a fish with your hand? Just like this. All the fish are swimming in the water, swimming in the water, swimming in the water. All the fish are swimming in the water. Bubble, 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 pop. Well, can you put your hands like this with a fin? All the sharks are swimming in the water, swimming in the water, swimming in the water. All the sharks are swimming in the water. Bubble, 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 pop. Okay, now I want you to make your hands big. All the whales are swimming in the water, swimming in the water, swimming in the water. All the whales are swimming in the water. Bubble, 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 pop. All right. Well, let's have a story about a very different looking kind of fish. This is Big Al, and it's written by Andrew Clements and illustrated by Yoshi. Looks like a school of little red fish again, doesn't it? And this is published by Simon and Schuster. Get over here so we can make sure that all the book gets in. In the wide blue sea, there was a very friendly fish named Big Al. Why, you could not find a nicer fish. But Big Al was also very, very scary. Oh, my goodness. The other fish seemed to have at least one friend, every one of them. Some had many, but Big Al had none. He really didn't blame the other fish. How could he expect little fish to trust a great big fish with eyes and skin and teeth like his? So Big Al was lonely, and he cried big salty tears into the big salty sea. But Big Al really wanted friends, so he worked at it. First he tried wrapping himself up in seaweed. He thought it was a great disguise, but no one else did. Who wants to stop and talk to a floating plant that has big, sharp teeth? And then he thought that if he puffed himself up round, the other fish would laugh and see how clever and silly he could be. But all they saw was how big he could be, and they steered clear. Well, very early one morning, Big Al went down to the bottom and flopped and wiggled himself into the sand until he was almost all covered up. Can you just see his eyes? He looked much smaller. And when the other fish came near, Big Al talked and joked with them and had a delightful time. But then one scratchy little grain of sand got stuck in his gills. That's how they breathe through their necks. And he oh, you know what's coming, don't you? He sneezed. And when the clouds of sand cleared away, all the fish were gone. There he is sneezing. Big Al even changed his color one day so he could look like he belonged to a school of tiny fish passing by. He bubbled along with them for a while, laughing and feeling like he was just one of the crowd. But he was so big and clumsy that when all the tiny fish darted to the left and then quickly back to the right, Big Al just plowed straight ahead and he went bumping and thumping right into the little fish. And before he could even say, "Oh, excuse me," they were gone and he was all alone again, sadder than ever. And just when Big Al was starting to be sure that he would never have a single friend, well, something happened. He was floating along sadly, watching some of the smaller fish, and he was wishing that they would come closer. And as he watched, A net dropped down silently from up above, and in an instant, all those little fish were caught. Well, Big Al forgot about being lonely, and he forgot about being sad. His eyes bulged. They bulged out bigger than they ever had, and rounder too. And with a mighty flip of his tail, he opened his mouth and charged straight at the net. Oh, that net was strong, but Big Al was stronger. He ripped right through it, and all the little fish rushed out through the hole. But when Big Al tried to turn around and go out of the hole, he got all tangled up in the net. He was stuck. The net went higher and higher up toward the bright surface of the sea, and the little fish watched as Big Al disappeared above. When the little fish were able to speak again, all they talked about was the huge, wonderful fish that had saved them. Oh, how great to be free, but what a shame that the big fellow had been captured. But just then, there was a tremendous crashing splash above them, and the small fish darted away. Was it the net again? Not at all. It was Big Al. Those fishermen took one look at him and threw him right back into the ocean. And now there is one huge, puffy, scary, fierce-looking fish in the sea who has more friends than anyone else. Can you guess who it is? If you guessed Big Al, you're right. There he is. And there is at least one other book in our collection about Big Al, so if you like, come and check it out. All right, let's do another finger play. And let's not worry about it being about a fish, because I don't think we have to have that. I think we could do the hot dogs. Do you know sometimes people use hot dogs as bait when they go fishing? They do. And if you've ever come to the library, you might have noticed that we just put our fishing poles out so you could go fishing. That's kind of what gave me the idea to be doing a fish-themed program today. So let's put our 5 fingers up and pretend they're all hot dogs. Is your pan nice and hot to cook them? Let's go. I've got 5 little hot dogs. They're cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and one went bam. So 4 little hot dogs are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and one went bam. 3 little hot dogs are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and one went bam. 2 little hot dogs are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and one went bam. So 1 little hot dog is cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and the one went bam. So now no little hot dogs are cooking in the pan. The grease got hot and the pan went bam. But we're going to have one more story, and then we'll have something on the flannel board. And this one isn't a really long one, but it is one that's kind of interesting. It's called This Is Not My Hat, and it's written and illustrated by John Klassen. And it says, a fish has stolen a hat, and he'll probably get away with it. Probably. This book is published by Candlewick Press. This hat is mine. Oh, I did it wrong. So we've got time for one more book, And this is the one I picked. It's called This Is Not by Hat, and it's written and illustrated by John Klassen. You might notice that it's got a gold medallion over here, and this means that it won the prize as the best illustrated book for, let's see what year, 2012, and it won the Caldecott Medal. It's published by Candlewick Press. And there aren't many words in it, but it tells quite an interesting story. It is told by the fish. This hat is not mine. I just stole it. Do you want to see it up close? Looks pretty good on it, doesn't it? I stole it from a big fish. He was asleep when I did it. That wasn't nice, was it? He probably won't wake up for a long time. Uh-oh. He's awake. And even if he does wake up, he probably won't notice that it's gone. And even if he does notice that it's gone, he probably won't know it was me who took it. How do you think that fish looks? Not very happy. And even if he does guess it was me, he won't know where I'm going. But I will tell you where I'm going. I am going to where the plants grow big and tall and close together. It is very hard to see in there. Nobody will ever find me. There is someone who saw me already, but he said he wouldn't tell anyone which way I went. So I'm not worried about that. I know it's wrong to steal a hat. I know it doesn't belong to me, but I'm going to keep it. It was too small for him anyway. It fits me just right. And look, I made it. Where the plants are big and tall and close together. I knew I was going to make it. Yes. But do you see what I see? It goes right there. Nobody will ever find me. Happened. The big fish got his hat back, that's for sure. Well, let's have a story on the flannel board. I'll use my black one today. And let's see, we're going to need some water. Yeah, I'll put that on there before I hold it up. Because, well, fish live in the water, right? So we'll put that up there. This is the top of the water, and this is the bottom of the water, and this is where the boats might be. In fact, let's put a boat right up there. And looks like those are fishermen, and each one has a fishing pole. I hope these will stay up here. Sometimes they fall off when I tell this story. And I can't do this because I don't have the words here. So. That was pretty stupid of me. Well, let's get the flannel board because it's time for a story. And for this story, we need some water. In fact, I'll put this down for just a second until I get the water up here. And if we're going to have water, well, we might want to have a boat on the water. And if we're having a boat, well, I bet the people in the boat might be fishermen. So let's give them each a fishing pole and then I'll bring it back up. Here we go. Well, they fished and they fished way down in the sea a mile. They fished among all the fish in the sea for a fish with a deep sea smile. Now one fish came from deep in the sea, from down in the sea a mile, with blue-green fins and whiskers 3, but he didn't have a deep sea smile. One fish came from deep in the sea, from down in the sea a mile, with electric lights up and down its tail, but it didn't have a deep sea smile. So they fished and they fished way down in the sea a mile. They fished among all the fish in the sea for a fish with a deep sea smile. Now one fish came with terrible teeth, and another had long, strong jaws. One fish came with tall, stalked eyes, and another had terrible claws. Well, they fished all through the ocean deep for many a mile, and they caught a fish with a laughing eye. But he didn't have a deep sea smile. And then one day they got a pull from down in the sea a mile, and when they pulled that fish up into their boat, oh, that fish smiled a deep sea smile. And when he smiled, well, the hook broke free. And oh, what a deep sea smile. He flipped his tail and he swam away down in the sea a mile. Pretty fancy fish, aren't they? Well, those are our fishy tales for today. I hope you enjoyed them. Come back and join us again for another story time. And do you have anything to say? Blub, 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 blub. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.